It is fall where I live, supposedly. And while I've never intentionally decorated for fall or for a season, mostly because it just seemed to me like another opportunity to buy more stuff and consume more, and that is not what I want to do. But I had this realization this year that decorating for a season is actually very much in line with an eco-friendly mentality, or at least it can be depending on how you do it, because you're decorating for a period of 3 months or so, and it's really tuning in with what's happening in the world around you at that time. So the more I thought about it, the more excited I got to try this out and to decorate for this season of fall. None of what I did is very elaborate. It's all just subtle nods to the season, but I wanted to share some of these thoughts and ideas with you here today. Hello, I am Robin, and on this channel, I love to share thoughts and tips for being more eco-conscious in our lives. I am definitely not an eco-perfectionist by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that I think about a lot, and I do have a lot of ideas, so I love sharing them on this channel for anyone who is interested. And today, I am decorating for fall. So autumn has traditionally been one of my favorite seasons. Huzzah! That has gotten a little more complicated as I've gotten older. I've looked at fall from both sides now. But it always holds a very near and dear place in my heart. I feel like the society we're in tries to push this idea that decorating equals buying more stuff, and that is just not my speed on so many levels. So I always feel this push and pull when it comes to holidays and decorating and all of that. I usually love the idea of embracing whatever the celebration or holiday or season is, but I don't love the idea of consuming a bunch of extra stuff. So I've been challenging myself to figure out ways to decorate for different holidays or celebrations without buying a bunch of stuff. And again, this idea of decorating specifically for a season is actually really, really exciting to me. I think it really lines up with an eco-friendly mentality. So when I set out on this mini challenge, I realized that while I've never intentionally decorated for fall, I have laid the groundwork with a lot of the projects I've done in the last several years. And many of those I actually have made videos for, so I will share links as I go. This first idea is very subtle, but I flipping love it. Flipping. And that is changing out light switch plates. I did make a video about this, so if you're interested, you can watch that. Basically, what I do is we have a store where we are. I think they're all throughout the United States. I'm not sure if they are in other countries, but it's basically a thrift store for home fixtures. So if someone is remodeling or doing a project in their house and what they have left over isn't usable for them anymore, this is a place that you can donate that or find that. So they have light switch plates there for like $1.25, and it's thrifted, and it doesn't really matter what they look like, although they're usually in pretty good condition. So what I do is I find a piece from an old magazine or a calendar or a piece of scrap fabric and just decoupage that onto the light switch plate. And then I just kind of switch these out throughout the year. I don't have one for every light switch plate, and I don't have every single holiday or season there is, but I do have a little collection of these, and they're easy to store, and they were super easy to change out. So I just changed out some of our summery, flowery looking ones for some fall ones, and it's just this nice little nod to fall to kind of see that on our wall just as we're passing by. This next idea is also a very subtle one, but it is one of my favorite things. I do have a video on it as well. That is just that I made some pillowcase covers for our 2 couch pillows. And I used just different fabrics for different times of the year. These were fairly easy to sew, especially I just did them all at once, and they are super compact to store. I know that I often see around holidays different specific pillows for that holiday. specific throw pillows, and those just sound really tricky to store. Although I did get suckered into one, which I'll share about in just a moment. So these are the fallish ones that I made. Don't tell the other covers, but these ones are my favorite. I also used leftover fabric from that project to make a little headband. You can make scrunchies, things like that with the leftover fabric. They are just so cute, and it's just such an easy way to give a nod to the season. But like I said, a couple of years ago, I did get suckered in. I saw this hedgehog fall pillow at World Market on clearance, and I had to get it. It's one of the only purchases I've made that's very specific to a time of year. And as much as I love it, I will say that it makes me appreciate the pillowcase cover idea even more, because this thing is tricky to figure out how to store when I don't have it out, which I don't like to have it out all year long, even though it makes me really happy, but it makes it extra special to just bring out in the fall. I have to figure out where to put it the other times of the year. Could make a cover for this one as well. That is an idea. One of the only official tablecloths we have, I got years ago at a thrift store, and it happens to be sort of fall themed, but we use it at various times throughout the year. But I also love this idea of just sewing some simple cloth fall napkins or even fall themed placemats. If you are someone who sews, these are fairly straightforward projects, and it's such a nice way to have just a little hint or nod to the season or holiday. I am a sucker for flags and bunting, and I know I've shared about the doily bunting I made, and I shared about the bunting I made from an old crib bumper. We also have bunting flags for birthdays. I don't know if I've shown those on this channel, but I decided to make some flag bunting for fall. I'd actually made this little one years and years ago, but I made a couple of extra ones just with some fabric scraps we have, and they make me so happy. And again, these are really, really easy to store. I realized that a lot of my ideas are very sewing based. They're not difficult sewing projects, and things like the flags you can actually do with little cheats if you don't want to sew them. Maybe I'll do a video about just specifically making bunting and flags, because that is just one of my favorite decorations. This next one is for the book lovers. I always love to pull books off our shelves that fit the holiday or the season that we are in. I put them in a little book basket. This obviously works really well for things like picture books or children's chapter books. So I realize this might not apply for everyone. Although I will say I have a very strong belief that picture books are for everyone. I talk about this on my book channel if you're interested. Also, if you don't have books that fit a specific season or holiday, you can always obviously check them out from the library and have a little book basket of the ones that fit that specific time, that are just library books instead of your own. I've also made these little pumpkins. I have a video where I talk about alternatives to pumpkins, mostly because pumpkin waste makes me cringe. I've made little pumpkins from old socks and just from pieces of cloth fabric. We have crocheted pumpkins. So these are all just really fun to put around the house and just to have a simple, subtle decoration. Bringing actual nature in is one of my favorite ways to decorate, because obviously it gets us outside to gather the items, and I think just seeing the items and bringing some nature inside our home is a good way to, again, have that connection with nature. So I've hung up some leaves this year behind me. I usually have our summer lavender up there, so it was really fun to finally change that out and put up something that matches the season. And then just collections of things like fallen leaves or pine cones or acorns are just fun, even if you don't have an official nature table, to just kind of put around the house. I have so many fun ideas for projects, nature projects with these items. So I have that on my radar as maybe a future video. I also love switching out frames with photos or poems or quotes that match the season or the holiday that we're in. Once I developed a system for this and just sort of like a very loose organization for this, it's really easy to just kind of flip through and find photos we have that match the season, or again, just a little poem or quote, and either just put them up on the wall or change them out in a frame. It's a really easy thing to store, an easy thing to do when decorating. And if you have kids' poems or stories or artwork about a certain time of the year, that's also just a really fun thing to have on hand and to display for that time of year. I realize that I'm talking more about generally changing out things for different holidays and times of year than specifically fall, but I feel like these ideas can apply to decorating for various times of the year, and I like that they're all just really easy to do and they don't cost a lot of money and you don't have to consume a lot. And then one important thing that I'm reminding myself of is that decorating, while we think of it obviously a very visual thing, there are ways to get in the spirit of the season or the holiday without it all being visual decorations, and by incorporating the other senses. For instance, for fall-y sort of sounds, I've made a Spotify playlist, and I think this is going to be such a personal thing depending on a person's music tastes and what they associate with different times of the year or holidays. There are tons of pre-made lists if you look up fall playlist or autumn playlist or things like that, which is a good place to start and maybe kind of pull from some of those and build your own custom list of what songs make you feel in touch with, in this case, fall. My list, for instance, consists of lots of things like Nick Drake or Norah Jones, Etta James, Our House by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, things like that feel very fall-y for me. And then just having the windows cracked, which I'm not going to do right now because I'm filming, hearing the sounds of nature if you're in a place where that makes sense to do, where you can hear, the leaves rustling or hear rain falling or whatever that might be. And obviously that also ties in with our sense of touch and feel, so you can feel the breeze, hopefully, maybe, things like that. And then smell and taste are obviously very intertwined. And there are so many lovely fall things to make, things like chilies and stews and pies and pumpkin dishes. But I also wanted to just add that there are crazy simple ways to make food feel or smell fall-y without making an elaborate dish. For instance, if you're making mac and cheese, even like a boxed mac and cheese, after I add the yogurt, I just add a little bit of pumpkin spice, a little mixture I made of pumpkin spice, and sometimes I add a little scoop of pumpkin. This is just a really quick, subtle way to make the dish taste and smell a little more fall-y without doing something really big. Same with like a waffle or a piece of toast. You can just sprinkle some cinnamon sugar on top and suddenly it feels like a very fall-y dish. And if you don't want to make your own homemade cider from apples you picked at the orchard, if you just pick up cider from the store and put it on the stove for a little bit on a low simmer, maybe add a little sprinkle of cinnamon or some cinnamon sticks, your home will smell divine. And there is nothing like a mug of hot cider. And then of course, the best way to get in touch with the season of fall in this case is to get outside, be in nature in whatever way that you can where you live, and to just spend some time not on devices, just going out, maybe having a simple picnic or going for a short hike, something like that, or maybe collecting nature items for bringing into your home for decorating. I know for me, sometimes I forget to just step outside and enjoy the day. It's easy to get caught up in the stuff that's going on inside the house. And this time of year, or soon hopefully, it is such beautiful, perfect temperatures and weather. It's a really great time to be outside and enjoy all of that. I think the more we connect with the world around us, the more we are going to make choices that respect the world around us. I know that's the case for me anyway. I'm sure I will discover more ways to honor fall in the upcoming months as the season progresses, but I just wanted to share these ideas here today. I know you all have your own great ideas. Hopefully this can offer a little inspiration, and if you have any ideas you'd like to share in the comments below, I would love to hear that, especially if you have thoughts on decorating without delving too much into the consumer world. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. Your actions can and will make a difference.